so excited. We have just a dynamo with us. We have Jane Rice Williams. She too is a support group leader, as well as just really just powerhousing through her state. Um, I'm about to introduce her, but then I realized I do need to do a little bit of housekeeping. Um, if anybody needs closed captioning, if you click on the three dots on the bottom, that will open up the closed captioning if you need it. Also open up your chat because we tend to get, a little chatty in this group. So definitely we want you to know that you can open up your chat. We always say, though, please be muted unless you are speaking, because this way we don't want any background noise or anything. Be patient with technology, because while it's great when it works, if it doesn't work, it's kind of frustrating. So, and of course, move with purpose. Think about how you can take some of this stuff back to your support group. And again, thanks for being here. Now I'm going to introduce Jane Rice Williams is a retired judge diagnosed on October 26, 2018. She's also the founder and director of Parkinson's in Motion. She relies on optimism in an effort to seek out and educate patients and providers and instill hope. Jane's organization's mission statement, vision statement says it all. Moving for change, reforming body, mind, and community. And I'm going to drop the link in the chat. And Janie, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. It's so good to see everybody. Boy, legislation, that's a hot topic, isn't it? Mm-hmm. How many of you have gone down that road or attempted anything with legislation? How many of you have are getting ready to? Anybody? Well, I guess I can just tell you how everything went with us. And Clemmy, Eden, if you all have any questions or want to stop me anywhere, please do. And if you put questions in the chat for them, I won't be looking for questions in the chat. So you all got to cue me in on that. So have you downloaded the toolkit yet? While we're talking, I called the toolkit Start with Ray. And I cannot overemphasize the importance of what this title has to do with where we are here in Kentucky. On March 25th, our governor signed into law the legislation to establish a Parkinson's disease registry in the state of Kentucky. We took this up in August of this past year, 2024, and by March it was done. It's all done as far as the legislation. It seemed like a lot, but then it seems like it happened so fast. Of course, the work is yet to begin because that has to do with the next phase of putting in the advisory council. But the way this all started was, what year did we go to Barcelona?
2023.
Okay, so it would have
been
2022. 2022 in the
22?
summer.
I'm not sure now. It was July. Must have been 2023. There you go. Now I got it. July 2023.
Okay, so in 2022, in the spring, I found Ray Dorsey's book, Ending Parkinson's Disease. And I read it, and I was just, it changed my life. To realize that Parkinson's that we knew what the cause for the most part is, changed everything about how I looked at Parkinson's, and it really ignited a spark here. We had a book study with the book. It was a 3-week study, and in trying to get somebody to join us on the study to give it a little bit of clout and get people to want to attend, I asked everywhere, and nobody. I wasn't doing any good. Kept hitting brick walls. So I finally found somehow I found Ray Dorsey's website, his email address, and he answered me the next morning and he said, "Sure, I'm glad to help. What can I do?" So he zoomed in with us the last week, and we had a great interview. That's on our website, by the way, parkinsonsinmotion.org. There are several interviews with Ray are on there. He's a wonderful guy. He is so passionate about Parkinson's to not have it himself and not have it right in his household. He feels like that as a doctor, a neurologist that works in the movement disorder arena all the time, that he should give something back, and that's what he does. So read that. But if you want to go down this road, you have to be so passionate about, I believe you have to be so passionate about the mission and about where you're going, more so than the problems you're dealing with. I mean, that's all important. We all understand that it's not easy to live with Parkinson's disease, but unfortunately, I mean, you've heard what was her name? I can't think of the poet, but laugh and the world laughs with you, weep and you weep alone. Wheatley, I think was her last name, but it's absolutely the truth. They love to hear your good stories, and they love to hear, so give it to them. I mean, tell them what all wonderful things are going on, and tell them about your group, and tell them about the fun you have, and make your blessings what people see in you. You don't want them to see that person coming and that person's always in a bad mood or always fussing about the state they're in. I don't know about you all, but no one ever told me that life would be without some kind of challenge. And we take these challenges and we just make them into opportunities, is what we do. So read Dr. Dorsey's book. You want to raise awareness. So we have lots of good information from the Michael J. Fox Foundation. Once you build up your passion, that's the next step you want to go, is with the Fox Foundation, or go there now. I mean, you can go ahead and sign up as an advocate and those kinds of things. But you need to, I know I spoke everywhere that anybody would let me at the podium. I would speak and I would tell about Parkinson's. And I didn't like to give the personal parts about it. What I liked them to know was what the percentage of people in the United States or in the world, how it's grown since it was first discovered in 1817. And probably the most gripping number of all is that the federal government puts $270 million into Parkinson's research, while they spend $52 billion on the back end because they're not taking care of it on the front end. That number, when we first went to Frankfurt, that was the number that gripped every politician I spoke with. So you want to know all of those. And I'll tell you something else I did. Not only did I read Ray's book, I listened to it several times. It became such a part of the way I spoke, and I could tell his stories. I guess at some point it's plagiarism if you talk it, as long as you don't write it down, right? Well, no, that's not true. It's still plagiarism, but I always gave him credit. And I have his slides, and he just said, use them, but please give me the credit. And I always do. But I think that I know that when I would do my exercise, there are all kinds of videos and YouTube videos of Ray Dorsey's interviews. There are videos of Boss Bloom and the other authors of the book. Listen to those, get all your information, know exactly what you're talking about. And the more you read, the crazier it gets that Parkinson's has been ignored for so long. But I think that's changing. I don't know how the rest of you all feel about it, but I feel like in the last 3 years, it's really a different world. More and more people know about Parkinson's disease. But see if your places like the Chamber of Commerce will let you talk, the Rotary Club, the churches, all these groups are always looking for people to take up their speaker time because they all have to find a speaker once a month. So they're usually real glad to have you. If you're not comfortable with public speaking, or you don't feel like you're as effective as it needs to be, find somebody who is. I mean, don't feel like that has to be your part of the mission, because maybe your part of the mission is whatever you're good at, whatever is your real gift, do that part. and find somebody who's gifted at the other parts and let them do it. You know, there's so much in this information about coming up with legislation. I know I did have an advantage because I've been around legislation for many years all my working career. So and I've helped with drafting legislation before, but unless you have a background there, you don't even want to touch it. Let Michael J. Fox Foundation, they will put you right in touch with the right people. Julia Pitcher has been wonderful. She's dynamic. She's upbeat. She handles questions that are asked. They just come to her quickly. She's very, very good. Of course, now that we've done the legislation process, we're with Zach Hardy, who is the one that helps us put in the advisory council, and that seems to be a whole different ball of wax. It's gonna be a struggle, but we'll get it done. See what I have here. I mean, all of these things like getting with forming coalitions and forming partnerships. Find that person, go through your community, join whatever you need to join to become better known if you aren't already. We're in a small town. We're, I don't know, 10 to 15,000 people. So we're not in a big place, but people in this community know more about Parkinson's disease than any other community this size. There's no doubt in my mind. We have our annual 5K is this Sunday at 3:00. Prayers for me, please. I've already had complaints because it's on Palm Sunday, and I'm like, really? What else do you do on Palm Sunday? You've already been to church that morning, so just take your palms and run with them, whatever. But the first year we had our run, and this is all part of the advocacy. Hey, Karen, it took you long enough. We had our first run 3 years ago, and they told us to expect 60 people. And I said, you're kidding, all this work for 60 people, but we ended up with 196 or something like that. And then the next year we had 241. This year we're right on track to be about at the same spot. I want to beat last year's number so bad, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But that's a big part of the advocacy and letting people know about Parkinson's disease. Schools and universities. I've got a professor from one of the local colleges coming by at 2:00 today to see what we have going on here. And because I help them whenever it's a physical therapy school, and anytime they need they're doing their neurology section, call me and ask me if I'll come down and talk to them about Parkinson's, and I act as if I'm their patient first, and we make up an identity and all that, and then I come back a little later and we go through the whole thing. So they really, really appreciate that. There are all kinds of events in your town. Find the ones where the most people will be, and just if you go to an event and you talk to one person and you win that person over, it was worth your while to get to that one event. So sometimes it's about, normally it's really about quality and not quantity. I'm trying to tell myself that if we don't beat last year's numbers on the run. Workshops. I mean, something else that we've done that I think has been really, really helpful. Anybody in town or out of town or wherever they are is invited to any event we have. We like for them to RSVP. They don't. It's a goal, but that's okay. They can come, and we feel like with that, doing it that way has been so helpful, because so many of the people in the community that have Parkinson's aren't getting out like you would like for them to be getting out. So it's some of the younger, more vibrant people that are changing the world and that are seeing what's going on. I've had several people learn that their family member had Parkinson's after they came to some of our meetings and heard our doctor speak. And then they said, I think I know what's going on with my dad or my mom or my brother or whatever. So I think it's real important just to include anybody that wants to come to get this information. So as far as our process, I went to see Brandon Storm with one of our board members and in August of this past year. And he is he's one of our local state senators. I've known him for many, many years through the law practice. Brandon and his whole family, I guess. So that's who we talked to. And he was just stunned at the information that we had to give him about Parkinson's disease. He knew I had Parkinson's because everybody in town knows I had Parkinson's, but he didn't know the facts behind it. He didn't know you could have Parkinson's for a long time and it not manifest. So what that tells me is that he could have Parkinson's, and I always try to leave people with that. You may have it, you just don't know. It hasn't shown up yet. So we talked to him then. We got Michael J. Fox department on the phone and set up a conference call real quick with that. So they started drafting the legislation real early on, and they had it ready. Kentucky has every other year they have a short legislative session that only lasts, I think it lasts about 6 weeks. So our bill was introduced in the very first couple of days of the session. And we testified before the Senate just a little bit after that. It was a Senate subcommittee. And then after that, people started, like the universities, who is this? Some of them knew who we were and some of them didn't, but we had to field a few people that thought they wanted things a little different in the legislation. So we worked with that. And you don't need to make those decisions. I mean, the Julia and the people with the Michael J. Fox Foundation, they know the legislation, they understand it, they understand why you do and you don't want things a certain way. So just let them do all of that. Then this is a good story. A couple of weeks later, I was supposed to do a presentation for AbbVie Pharmaceutical. And we were really, really excited about this presentation. It was in Louisville, Kentucky, and it's about 2.5 hours from here to Louisville. Frankfurt, our state capital, is on the way. And I kept thinking, I hope these two events don't conflict. So had everything ready for AbbVie, so excited about it. And 6 o'clock the night before, that's how legislation operates. 6 o'clock the night before, I got a call, of course, from Brandon, and he said, the House wants to hear testimony tomorrow at noon. Well, I was supposed to be in Louisville at 1 o'clock. It's it's just under an hour to Louisville from Frankfurt. But with the speaking time, it wasn't going to be possible to be both places at once. So I got AbbVie on the phone and asked them if they could flip the last session. The last session was a Rocksteady box presentation. So they moved Rocksteady into our time slot, put us into the last session, and then we quickly did what we needed to do in Frankfurt. They took it, and so worried and stressed all night the night before and all day long. But you know what? That's one of those things that you think, how is this not going to be a disaster? But you just sit back and let let the one that has it in his hands take care of it. And we walked into that AbbVie presentation, and we couldn't have had a more captive audience. The fact that we had rushed in and had to make such a big deal about being late, they were they were just right with us the whole time, and very, very supportive. The best audience I've ever been with and been in front of. So we drove home from Louisville saying, thank you, Lord, for the conflicting situation, because it worked out for the very, very best. And then the next week, I had an insider too in Frankfurt that was in with the administrative part of everything, and she kind of made sure that the bill got where it needed to be when it was supposed to be there. That always helps, but you got to be careful about that stuff. And if you don't have it, don't push it. And so I called Brandon and said, they haven't called the bill up yet. And he said, I know. Can you do anything about this? And we got it where it needed to be. And then the governor signed it just a few days later. So it was already veto proof by the time it got to him, because in our state, because it had gone through, it was unanimously accepted at each level. So it was pretty much veto proof. And now we're just in the whirlwind of trying to figure out how this committee is going to be set up. And that's most of my story. It's been busy.
Sharing your story. Dave, no questions so far. If people want to add questions, Dave just said he wants to get a registry for Pennsylvania, so that's something he's working on.
So what have any of you all done so far?
Karen, you want to come off mute?
You don't have Karen permanently muted, do you?
Okay, no,
We would never do that to Karen.
What do you do if you have Julia and Zach on it? But unfortunately, the state senator that brought the legislation is no longer answering the phone, which is the case in New Jersey. I mean, I've been calling other state senators and assembly people to basically say, I know you were involved in Alzheimer, or I know you were involved in senior bills. Would you be willing to take this on? I feel like I'm a one-woman show.
Here's what I do, Karen. That's the part you want to address. Don't be a one-woman show. If they're not taking your call, you spend your time finding who they will talk to. Like,
well, Zach is truly in it at the moment.
yeah. Well, I mean, like your friends who the senators will listen to, because if they don't have the politicians in your state government on board, then Zach and Julia there's nothing they can do. Because it takes, like before we went to before we testified before the Senate subcommittee, called all the senators myself, but I already knew who their staff people were and kind of built relationships there. And so when their member called me back, they kind of information from their staff member who I knew, and just work on that part of it with building your friend network in your state government, because that's what it'll boil down to. When I walked in there and I knew people, that helped a whole lot. And once you get there, it kind of takes care of itself, because you're not going to go to any meetings where you're not going to have people telling their own personal, thank you so much for bringing this because my father died with Parkinson's, or my mother had it, or something like that. We got lots of that everywhere we went. But it's I cannot stress how important it is to have those people that you know personally that want to help you get that done, that are in your state government. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, I find it interesting because it was already proposed. It's already in committee. And now they're not answering the calls, whether it's Michael J. Fox or myself. And there are I actually formed like a network of New Jersey Parkinson people, and probably 6 of them have recently called Cory Booker, the state senators, the Andy Kim, we've called Governor Murphy. I think they're going to probably block me at some point.
And you might want to just back off and
Yeah.
do it again next year. I mean, I think that's what I would do at that point, because the last thing you want to do is go down that path of they say, oh, there's Jane Williams, we don't want to deal with her. You want to go into oblivion for a while.
Well, it's too late, Janie. It's too late.
Well,
we're having a big baseball event on Friday night for Spark the Night.
Well, I mean, it's not too late for you personally to quit pushing the agenda if it's not going over, if you're not getting any traction in your government. Because it sounds like, Julia, it sounds like Michael J. Fox is doing everything they can, and you're doing everything you can. And if the people in the state government aren't, at this point, you cannot imagine the games that are going on right now. I mean, they start negotiating all kinds of deals for everything in the world, and they start trying to tag on all kinds of pieces to your legislation, and they did that with us, and it's just a game at this point, and you just have to sit back and let it play itself out. And if you win this year, if you don't win this year, you'll win next year. I don't know what else to say, but that's what I think that's have to be. That's unfortunate, but that's the way it is.
We shall see.
Yeah. Good luck to you, Karen.
Thank you. I'll give you an update.
I appreciate it.
Any other questions before we go into breakout rooms? I do have one question that I was asked to ask you guys if you want to do a chat storm, if you guys could just give me your answer in the chat, a yay or nay. Do you recognize the name Neurolife Online? Getting some, okay, Lauren says yes. Getting some yeses. Karen says yes. Bernard says yes. Calissa says yes. Gail says no. Okay. So no. Okay, getting some yeses, getting some nos. Okay. Just wanted to have an idea before we go into the chat, like who says yes, who knows, how many. Some people are going to say like, yep, got it. And others are kind of like, nope, do not have it. So now Kiana's going to put you guys into some breakout rooms. What we're going to do is just talk about what you're doing right now in your group. Obviously, if you're doing anything in your, city doing legislation or whatnot, but if you're like, I don't want to talk about it, it's getting frustrating. I think Karen's getting frustrated. This is meant to be a happy time. So a good time. So if you want to instead just talk about what you're doing in your group, any good suggestions or ideas or whatnot, we encourage that. So Kiana's going to put you in groups. Jane is going to be able to go between the groups. So she'll kind of visit everybody, but we're going to go ahead and put you in groups. You don't need to do anything. And we're going to give you about 30 minutes or so. We'll come back probably around like 20 after. Welcome back. So we're going to go ahead. I actually kept it loosey-goosey this time because normally I give you guys a topic and everybody talks about something else anyway. So I'm like, let's just kind of keep it a little loosey
Good
goosey.
for you.
No, I'm gonna roll with it. So
She knows us by now.
yeah. Well, like I said, it's always meant to be a guide. It's never like, okay, I expect a long essay and stuff on what you discussed. So in room 1, we have BJ, we have Corey, we have Dave, we have Gail. Jane was in that room, and Randy. Who would like to come share what you discussed?
That'll be me, Randy.
Uh-huh.
We had Jane in our room, so we had a lot of discussion on legislative stuff. Ben is the president of the Gulf Coast Parkinson's Association, so he had a lot of information. Dave shared a lot of information. So we had a lot of people, trying to help us with different things. Mainly our main thing was rural regions and how do we get help in those areas. So that was what we were pretty much spent the time talking about.
I've seen the people though in this group. I bet there was a coup d'etat planned or something.
Well, no,
No.
the problem was everyone had so much to talk about that, and but I really wanted to excuse me, stress that Dave has that spreadsheet where you can figure out the population in your area that may have Parkinson's, and we use that information for grants. We used it for talking to our legislatures, so that's a good resource that he has. I would love to see shared to everybody. Just for informational purposes, when they're talking to their groups, we can say we have 2,000 or 3,000 other people that are not here. We have 20 people in a group. How can we do outreach?
Mhm.
And then we also railed against the Parkinson's Foundation for some reasons, and that just means the PMD Alliance is awesome. But no, we talked a lot about the rural areas needing a lot more connection than they're getting.
Yeah.
And that was really our main complaint, is that it's easy to bring resources to metropolitan areas and hopefully expect that people can travel to that, but we need better connection to the rural areas. And that was our main discussion. And we all talked a little bit about our groups, and there seems to be a lot of new beginnings and transitions of leaders in our groups. So that was just my add-on.
Roger's showing our program guide.
Yes,
Yeah, new program guide.
It is golden.
Dave, can you put that link in the chat? I know you've shared it. I've shared it in the past. How people can check and just see the number of Parkinson's in their area. You're on mute.
I can write a small little resource and attach a spreadsheet, send it to you. And you can share it.
Okay.
And look, and I've totally reported, share my email address if anybody wants to reach out. Also, I have not a problem, but I'll send you the information and where you get the Census Bureau information from. That way everybody can do the right thing. You know, nobody's going to argue with the Census Bureau.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, you didn't tell me about that.
I've said it before, but you haven't been in my groups. But I won't share it with you this weekend.
Okay.
Hey, Apollo.
I did put it is. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Excuse me, because I looked through my emails and I found Dave's email, censusreporter.org. He actually did do a specific one for BJ that I found that I passed on to BJ, but this way you can do your own hometown. Bernard, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say quickly on this comment. We just received the proclamation from the mayor of our city here. And what happened was last year when we asked for the proclamation, we shared using the California registry that our area is the second biggest hotspot for Parkinson's in the state. And that got their attention. So we're online now with the assembly woman for our area who's trying to work on how to get something through because they have a limit on how many proclamations they can do a year. But the key is that little piece of information that Dave is providing is critical because politicians respond to numbers. Excuse me, number of constituencies impacted. So when you can throw a little tidbit in there to not only personalize it and that you're telling your story, but hey, there's a lot of people in our area who probably aren't telling your story. You're unaware of it because you can walk around with Parkinson's for 20 years with, minimal symptoms. But this is what the population looks like, and they will be here. So Dave, I mean, thank you for that always. But for those of you who haven't used it, it's a very valuable piece of information. Yeah.
Okay, Eden, I'll send you the spreadsheet. You can share it around.
Okay, perfect. Like I said, the link is in the chat if you want to look up your own, just kind of see what's going on.
And Jane had mentioned a book by an author. I put the link in the chat if people want to click on it and see what it's about.
What book is that?
Reducing your symptoms through exercise.
Oh, Janie.
I
Yeah.
got that.
That's why I was late. I just did a one-on-one with Christine.
Oh, with Christine, she's wonderful.
She is.
Yeah, we're putting in a cycling studio here.
Oh, you are? Okay, great.
are.
She's a wonderful resource. If you guys have a support group and you want her to talk, she is just lovely, lovely, lovely.
And in room 2, we have Karen, we have iPad 3, we have Bernard, and we have Trudy, who'd like to tell us what you guys discussed.
Bernard will talk.
No, I got a mouthful of food. Karen, would you do the honor? Thank you.
Well, we sort of stayed on topic. Bernard talked about the Sparklet program, which is, part of the PD Avengers Spark the Night. I spoke a little about the Spark the Night program. Trudy told us that she is very close to me, so I shared with her the Patriot baseball game and how it's not just an awareness and advocacy night, it's also going to be a resource fair. And Dave from West Virginia shared that he also is part of Rocksteady Boxing, and Rocksteady Boxing is a sponsor of Spark the Night. So it's a perfect combination, and it's, what can I say? I've found it to be a wonderful way of promoting awareness and advocacy.
Perfect. Anyone else want to chime in?
Dave has his whole family involved, which I think is fabulous. It's really a beautiful thing.
And now I'm expecting Trudy to be there on Thursday.
Can I ask a question about Spark the Night? I mean, really, I see Spark the Night everywhere, but I don't really know what it is. Can you give like a 1-minute description of what it is?
Bernard finished chewing.
So Parkinson's is a grassroots effort. I mean, Spark the Night is a grassroots effort to raise awareness of Parkinson's everywhere. At the top level, Spark the Night is getting landmarks in any area we can find to light up in blue so that people begin to ask the question, why is the bridge built? Why is that monument blue? And we can raise awareness that way. But also the very process of getting these jurisdictions to light up the building is raising awareness of Parkinson's, because we tell them the story and we give them the statistics of the number of people impacted, and they're jumping on board. So we should be over 500 landmarks this year worldwide, over 250 some in the United States, lit up in blue. And we'll be filming those wherever we can and showing that. We also have Times Square. There's an electronic billboard that is going up through this period and a little beyond, which will be showing these landmarks lit up, Spark the Night, little phrases, little explanation. And then I added a piece called the Sparklet program, because I thought it was very important with 10 million people impacted by, 20 some million people impacted by Parkinson's worldwide, 10 million with the disease, that we could do our little thing. You know, even if you can't get a bridge lit up, you can't get a monument lit up, you can put a blue bulb in something. There you go. Fantastic.
I am living proof
Right.
that in
So,
2 months,
yeah.
you can do it.
Well, in 5 minutes,
Yeah.
you can dress in blue and take a picture of yourself and upload it. And so my goal this year, it's the first year we're rolling out the individual program, is to have over 2,000 images to add to what we'll do is a digital mural, which will be available for the rest of the year, which has individuals or groups either lit up in blue or wearing blue. And just a quick little thing, I played the Sparklet PSA, which is self-explanatory. It's available on YouTube, and it does the job by itself. Quickly, the night we unveiled it for the first time, we did it at our PD and arts class. On the spot, the participants said, why don't we dedicate our entire next art class to Parkinson's awareness? And so on the 11th, we'll all be in blue. We'll all be sparkling tonight as sparklets, and we'll all be doing blue artwork, which we will photograph and send up. The YMCA's in New Jersey, some of the YMCA's in New Jersey, some in different places are going to do things in facilities. Some Rocksteady facilities who can do it are going to have, going to be in blue, or they're going to decorate in blue for their sessions. We're hearing from groups all over the world, some hospitals in Africa and different places that are going to do something in blue, light up an area in blue and take a group photo. So
where do we send the photo? And I said 1 minute.
So here
Bernard
it is. Really
doesn't
simple.
know what 1 minute means. And I don't even know you that well.
Yeah, www.worldparkinsonsnight.com. Just go to that site. There's a big upload box for you to click on and upload your photo. It's very simple. I've done it a couple of times. And then just quickly, let me see if I can do this. Let me share this. It's already there. Video. Okay. This is an example sparking the night. This is the mayor of our city presenting us with a proclamation for Parkinson's awareness, and you can still got time to ask your local jurisdictions to do a proclamation declaring Parkinson's Awareness Month. The template is at the Spark Tonight website. You see we're dressed up in lit blue hats and in blue, raising awareness, and you get to tell your story, then take the photo and upload it. So it's that simple. The Spark Tonight PSA gives you other examples that we did with some other groups like Ping Pong for Parkinson's. They're doing it. Lots of groups are going to be there. And if you have a support group meeting between now and the end of the month, even though it may be past April 11th, ask them to all come in blue and take a photo and upload it. It's a great way of raising awareness. Okay, so I'm only a deficit of 5 minutes over.
Well, but now we're going to move on to your group. So now I want to hear from, we just heard from your group. You say now we've got group 3, Debbie Shapiro, Erin, Karen Williams, and Roger Jenkins.
We had the very best group. Take it over.
Aww.
We actually started out by talking about something that was related to what Jane talked about, and that is the whole issue of ending Parkinson's. One of the goals in our group for a long time has been to reach out to the Spanish-speaking population in South County, and I have to thank Dave Rivera for sending us the information about how many Hispanic people there might be in Parkinson's County with Parkinson's disease. And there are probably a lot of them. And probably a lot of them are in South County where there are agricultural fields where people have been exposed and probably still are being exposed to pesticides. but we're finally making some progress. We have communicated with people in Parkinson's. We're going to be forming focus groups for people in South County to find out what they want in terms of resources and information about Parkinson's, and we're going to be providing them with some information in Spanish and in English about Parkinson's. I forgot to mention to our group that during COVID, Ray Dorsey spoke to our group. It was one of our virtual presentations. So we've been very concerned about this whole issue of pesticides. So that's one of the things that we talked about. We also spent some time talking about therapy. And one of the things, Eden, that maybe you could do, we talked about that wonderful diagram of the PMD Alliance put together, the support ecosystem.
Mhm.
That has become the focus of a multi-part series at our monthly meetings of talking about all those people that are involved. Is that ecosystem gets larger and larger. We had the care partners talk to our group in February. We have a team of therapists talking to our group this fall. At the very end, we're going to have people in the last program, we small groups with people sharing information with each other. Somebody in our group asked me to send the link, but Eden, if you could resend that link to everybody, that wonderful, Bernard, I think you have not Bernard, who was it that had
Dave.
Roger, I think, are you the one that had a copy of the diagram?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it sitting there right next to your computer there? It's a wonderful the only thing that's lacking, by the way, I think, unless I haven't looked at it closely enough, is the end of life decision making. And that's something that we're going to be focusing on again, probably next year, the palliative care and hospice. I mean, at the end, that's the final piece that comes into the care. But as a group, we've decided that people with Parkinson's and all people who affiliated with people with Parkinson's are wonderful people. I mean, look at all these people on here. There's so much talent, there's so much enthusiasm. It's been wonderful. Um, uh, uh, Debbie was on from Jerusalem, and did you want to say something about what you're doing in terms of getting therapy to people who don't have access to the internet, which is an issue for some people in rural areas and some parts of the world. They don't have the advantage that we do of being able to get online to get all this information. Debbie, could you say something about that?
You're on mute. Come off mute.
I just made we organized now a pilot program working with an app that evaluates people for physical therapy evaluation, and then through AI makes a program for them, which is looked at with the physical therapist as well. And it's at the moment we're using tablets, but the idea is eventually that we're going to give people tablets without access to anything except for this particular program, so that people who don't want to have internet in their house can have a daily physical therapy session once a week with a physical therapist. I know I'm a little bit speaking not very clearly, perhaps. Once a week with a physical therapist, the rest of the time through AI, and the amazing thing about it is that the program actually evaluates each session and sees whether the person is where the person is lacking, and then creates the next session according to their needs. It's an unbelievable thing. It's being used in hospitals, and now we're trying to see if we can work it out in people's homes, specifically for people in rural areas who do not have access to actual programs. For there are many places where there are absolutely no programs for people with Parkinson's. That's it.
Thanks for sharing. And then BJ, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that what Karen says, the ecosystem is gold, and it's not shared enough. It needs to be everywhere. And
What do you mean by that?
well, all in, there's just so many different things going on with the PMD Alliance, and it's a fast pace. There's a lot of energy, but there just needs to be a focus on the ecosystem and say, let's go through each leaf of this ecosystem and do training with people on it. And just like we do training for support group leaders, we have a session. We need to have a session about building your support links and using the ecosystem and make it in depth. Because I think a lot of people just don't know where to start and they get overwhelmed and they forget things. They don't think certain things are as important, but they are. So I think it should be pushed more, shared more, taught more. And that's really truthfully what drew me to PMD Alliance in the first place.
Interesting.
I would like to add, I have had Parkinson's 20 years, and I'm still adding to my support group.
Mhm.
The problem, I mean, what I see happening is that there's so much available now online, and yet there are people who don't have access or don't want access to the internet, and they're really missing out. They have no support group. They have nothing. So it's a problem.
Yes. I've talked enough. I'm not going to say any more.
I cannot believe that.
Okay, since you said no.
It all boils down to educating family, educating the healthcare system, educating hospitals. We are the educators. Whether we like it or not, we're always in the process of educating people about Parkinson's. And somebody in our group mentioned it's not only a matter of educating, it's often a matter of re-educating and reiterating these things, so that people are aware of the needs of people with Parkinson's.
I want
Amen,
a t-shirt.
amen to re-educate. We have new people coming in by the minute, so don't think it's old stuff. New people need to be re-educated. PMDA is a fine example.
I just want to say that I often speak in schools about Parkinson's and explain the difficulties. And I also go to a dance class, a folk dance class. So I go with a walker because I have a lot of problems with my walking, with my gait. But as all of you probably know, dancing comes from a different part of the brain. So many of us can't walk, but we can dance beautifully, right? So I get up there and I'm dancing with everybody, and then I go out with my walker, and people were like looking at me like this lady's totally insane. So I got up in the middle of the class and I just explained to them why, what Parkinson's is about. People were absolutely amazed, but sometimes you just have to like explain what you're doing. So, you know.
It is remarkable. Dave Iverson spoke at 2 of our symposiums. He's in the San Francisco area. He has Parkinson's. He's worked with Michael J. Fox. He's done several documentaries, and one of them was devoted to Dance for Parkinson's. And I still remember that scene of the woman who could barely move, but you put the music on and she's dancing. I mean, it was
Right.
just, it was absolutely remarkable. In fact, I've suggested that maybe our group should have a dance. You know, we need, I said, we need something just for fun for us once in a while. You know, maybe people have said in the past, I don't know whether it's still true, that the tango is supposed to be the best dance, but it could be line dancing or square dancing or whatever. But something like that I think would be fun to invite people to. But it is remarkable what music and dance
Right.
do for people with Parkinson's.
Go to indieballet.org, scroll down. I'm in a 5-minute video. When I start class, I'm in my wheelchair. Halfway through, I stand up without wheelchair. Music
Wow.
works.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We have gone over because we started late, so I do want to let everybody, I want to be mindful of people's times.
Look at Bernard.
He's
I'm sparking
already
tonight.
sparking the night. He's already sparking.
I love it.
I know. I do. Seriously, like there are just people in this group. You just say their name, and I just smile because I'm like, I
Thank
just,
you. Thank
you know,
you.
some of y'all, you're like, you know, you do say what Karen said. I always say, I know no one wants Parkinson's, but the best people get it, and I get to work with them, and that's why I'm so lucky. And so, yeah, like right now, I'm like going, if I get down today, I'm just going to picture Bernard with that smile, light up hat.
Well, then I'll die happy. You know?
You're just bringing me joy. Kiana did put in the chat, and I do encourage, we did put some links in the chat today if you want to save it. Look at your chat box. There's 3 little dots. Click on those and then click on Save Chat. We're going to be back next month. Let me look up the date real quick. We'll be May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. So we'll be back in May, and I hope to see people before then. But just so you know, we'll see you May 5th. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day.
I'm just
And
going
I
to stay
hope
on
to
the
get
link.
everybody's picture uploaded with something in blue.
We got ping pong on Friday. I'm going to send you something. I'm sending the email now. Wear blue.
Yes. Yeah.
And Eden, I'm just going to stay on the Zoom call since I'm with you in 10 minutes?
I think. Wait, is that 10 minutes? I think that's at 2:30.
Oh, good. I can eat. Bye.
Yeah, you can go eat. Bye, everyone.
All right. Take care.
Thanks, Jane.
All right, thank you.